And look at this incredible video. It shows everyday Ukrainians in a southeast resort town challenging the Russian soldiers in the central square who were taking over the town. They have no weapons as they shout at Russian soldiers to go home. Wow. Nikki Haley, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, is with me here today. You know, we saw the Ukrainian President Zelensky say that he wanted to become part of the European Union. I want to first get your reaction to that. How does that help him?
Well, you know, I think it helps him because it infuriates Russia, right? It puts more pressure on Putin. It lets Putin know that more of the world is with him. And I think they absolutely should let him in the EU. I mean, certainly that's a European decision. They'll all have to vote on it. But I think if you want to talk about courage and you want to talk about might and you want to talk about inspiration, how do you not let the Ukraine into the EU? I think that's Europeans will really think that way.
Since we're on the topic of letting them into things, are we at the point where we'd ever consider Finland today saying that it wants to get into NATO and it's sending weaponry and doing everything it can now to help Ukraine? It realizes what Ukraine is showing to the world, that when Russia gets ready to do something, they have a crazy man at the helm.
And he's been crazy. He's been evil for a long time. We've watched him poison opponents in England. We've watched him allow chemical weapons in Syria. We've watched him do horrific acts over the years, bringing down the Malaysian airplane. I mean, we've watched all of this. So this should be no surprise to any of us. You know, in terms of NATO, it's very different. EU is financial, right? NATO is security. So you really have to think about whether, you know, which countries you're going to add in, because that means we all go to war if they're invaded. We all go and take up arms if they're invaded. And so it's a different conversation if you're talking about the EU versus NATO.
Well, and Finland knows that. They see the geography of things and looking across at Russia and saying, well, now would be a good time to get into NATO. Look, Ukraine might want to do the same thing right now, but that pulls us into a nuclear war, I'd have to imagine, almost immediately. You know, on the Hill, Republicans have introduced a joint resolution now to pull Russia or to demand that Russia lose permanent seat on the UN Security Council. You know, Ambassador, I'm curious about how this puts pressure on him.
Well, first of all, there's a lot that we should be doing. I mean, I think that, you know, Biden chose to get back into the Human Rights Council. Well, you're sitting shoulder to shoulder with Russia. Either you kick Russia off the Human Rights Council or the U.S. gets out of the Human Rights Council, which we did in the very beginning. Secondly, you are sitting in Iran negotiations. You're sitting shoulder to shoulder with Russia and China. Do you really want to be doing a deal with our enemies? I don't think so. If we didn't learn the lesson from this, we've got to learn that we are not going to allow that to happen. So when you talk about the UN Security Council, absolutely, I would be railing right now to, one, not allow Russia on the Security Council, two, not allow Russia in the General Assembly. They should be, they shouldn't even get observer status at this point. This is all-out war, and we should be treating them like the criminals that they are.
So you bring that up, and that's exactly the question, right? Why are they allowed to vote against a resolution that condemns what they're doing? That makes no sense.
Doesn't. And if the UN ever wanted to man up and grow a spine, this is the time to do it. Because if they can do this to Ukraine, they can do this to any country that sits in that chamber. And we have to look at this. Harris, this is a learning moment for us. So there were a lot of things the U.S. should have done before this happened. But do you know who's watching all of this right now? China. China's watching every country that's sending Ukraine arms. China's watching how the U.S. reacts. China's watching who's sending intelligence to Ukraine. And China is deciding that when they invade Taiwan, how do they want to do it sleeker, better, stronger?
Well,
how are they going to make sure they can do this? So while we're trying to defend Ukraine at this point, don't take your eyes off of China, because they are getting ready to move, and we have to be ready.
And how can we be so sure they're in concert with each other? They were so cozy at the Olympics in Beijing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, they had to have, because it was days before this had happened with Ukraine.
This played out in front of the world. What we know now is China is a bit annoyed, right? Because it did play out this way. They look at Russia, they think Russia's being sloppy, they think this is, you know, they're embarrassing them. But China very much gets, Russia is the junior partner here. And so China may try and distance at this point, but they are as close together in terms of making sure they destroy the West as they've ever been.
Yeah, you know what? I want to hear from, if we can, the ambassador to Ukraine and what he had to say about getting into the UN. He said this yesterday.
Russia is attacking hospitals, mobile aid brigades, and ambulances. This is not the action of a state with a legitimate security concern. This is the action of a state determined to kill civilians. There is no debate. These are war crimes.
Okay, real quickly, let's go right to showing everybody what Biden's got to do now. Because he's got to balance where he needs Putin, Ambassador, with all that Putin's doing. And look, the International Criminal Court can go after Putin, I would imagine, at any point. They don't have to wait for this war to be over. I mean, if he's committing crimes, they could do that. But what's interesting is, from what I'm reading, Biden is leaning on Russia to do the deal with Iran.
I mean, it's disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. Talk about not learning from your mistakes. First of all, Biden's not doing enough. He needs to cut off. Even now, he should be cutting off all Russian oil coming into the United States. He can do it in one instance by opening up the Keystone Pipeline. The second thing is he needs to sanction every energy company in Russia right now. I don't know why he's waiting. It's the one thing that is a sucker punch to Putin if he wanted to do it. And then completely eliminate them from SWIFT. Completely stop the Venmo transactions of international. Stop that. What are you waiting on? How many more people have to die before Biden says, okay, let's do this? There's a real problem. And then you're still going to try and talk about the Iran deal. You're still going to go sit in a room with Russia and China. And Harris, think about it. When the idea that Biden would go ask China for help with Russia sickens me to my core. When you're going to one enemy to get help with another enemy, do you know how weak that looks? We've got to stop all of this embarrassment. At some point, learn the fact that when tyrants say they're going to do something, we should learn the lesson they're going to do it. Russia said they were going to invade in Ukraine. They're doing it. China said they were going to take over Hong Kong. They've done it. Russia says they want Poland and the Baltics next. China has said that they want Taiwan next. Iran says they want to destroy Israel. We need to take these evil dictators at their word because they're serious. And God help us if we don't take them seriously now, because we're watching our mistakes happen. We can self-correct, but we've got to grow a spine. We've got to get strong, and we've got to start calling out these dictators for what they are.
$58 million a day is what we're paying Putin for his oil. We can't get off of that, apparently. I would walk till the rest of time if you told me that that were U.S. strategy. As
every American would, at what point are the dollars going to outweigh human lives that are happening, that are dying on the streets right now of Ukraine? And do we need that oil? No. Double down on fracking. Make sure that we're exporting liquefied natural gas. We shouldn't be becoming less dependent on Russia alone. We should be telling Europe, you got us into this. You now have to become less dependent. Poland and Lithuania have already started getting their oil from Australia. Let's get the rest of Europe off of Russian oil.
Ambassador Nikki Haley, great to have you on the Mez here in New York.
Thanks so much
for being here.